Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our discussion on Central European responses to COVID-19 crisis and new priorities for European policies. My name is Alena Kudzko. I'm director of the GLOBSEC Policy Institute, broadcasting from Bratislava. I'm delighted to moderate this discussion with three important personalities whose work and responsibilities are defining the policies and the issues that are dominating the thinking and concerns of all of us today. And of course, we mean coordination of European responses to COVID-19 crisis, opening of borders, and economic recovery. We're very pleased to have with us today Karoline Edtstadler, Federal Minister for the EU and Constitution at the Federal Chancellery of Austria, Milena Hrdinková, State Secretary for European Affairs, Office of the Government of the Czech Republic, and Martin Klus, State Secretary for European Affairs, Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs, Slovakia. This event is part of our broader efforts aimed to help find and facilitate the best ways for Europe to overcome the current health, economic, and political crisis. In the second part of the event, there will be time to pose questions to our speakers. If you're Zooming with us, please use the Q&A function to pose a question. You can also tweet your question to us or post them on Facebook in the comments to the live stream. This event is live streamed and will be recorded. Let me start by thanking our esteemed speakers for joining us today. We know your agenda is very busy and we appreciate your time with us. Let me start with an easy question. We're surely not over the crisis yet, and epidemiologists overwhelmingly warn that a second wave is likely, or that pandemics of various origins will likely define our life for decades to come. While there are still a lot of steps to be taken to address the political and economic crisis, there is already an ongoing comparison of notes, how various countries and regions performed in containing this first wave. And Central Europe, and that includes, of course, Austria, Slovakia, and Czechia, are widely cited as a top performer with very low numbers of infections and deaths. So already thinking about the future and the measures and responses that we would want to be ready for to face a potential next wave or another pandemic, could you please highlight for us, what do you think were the most important factors that contributed to the Central European success? Could you maybe name 2 or 3 measures that were most crucial and that you think can be replicated by others and by ourselves in the future? And we would start with Minister Edtstadler.
Thank you very much, Alena, and thank you for this invitation. I'm very pleased to see my colleagues from the Czech Republic and from Slovakia. And if I may say that if there is something positive out of the crisis, if you can find something, then I would say that we really got even closer to each other. We saw each other nearly on a daily basis or heard each other on the phone. We had so many video conferences. And to be honest, if there is a week without the video conference together with the Czech Republic and Slovakia, I'm missing something. And that is something we should also learn out of this crisis. I think it's very, very important to have a good coordination and a very well cooperation with the neighboring states. It's very important to have solidarity within the European Union, but it also turned out that it is important to have a close cooperation with the neighboring states. And we saw that from the beginning of this crisis, if I may say that, we do have a lot of pendlers, of commuters in Austria. About 200,000 people are commuting on a daily basis to Austria to work here in several very important fields, in the health sector, in the critical infrastructure. And that was something we tried to solve from the very beginning, to make it possible for those people to come to Austria, to work here, to benefit also from things we did during this crisis. And I would like to thank my colleagues in the Czech Republic and in Slovakia for this very, very good cooperation during that time. Turning to your question, I think what it combines us all is that at the moment we are slowly and gradually moving out of the crisis mode towards to a new normality. You already mentioned it, the agenda is really quite full, and I have the impression that the new normality is also, yeah, I would say it's more stressful than the old one, because on the one hand, we are very happy to have these digital abilities to talk to each other, to see each other also. But on the other hand, we can put even more in the agenda, and it's more intensive to work in all these fields to solve the problems which arise from day to day and which we were not able to think of only a few weeks ago. So to your question, you asked what we are thinking that is important also for the second phase, how we can avoid a second wave. And I have the impression now it's really crucial time, because we do have a good development. In Austria, I can tell you the situation is under control. We reached a flattening of the curve, and that was thanks to the people living here, because they were very disciplined, they were very committed, and we set really strict measures and restrictions from day one of this crisis. So now we have this good development, and now it's the most important thing to keep people aware and on site. We still ask them to wear these masks, we still ask them to keep distance, and that's very important. And of course, and I want to mention that also, to regularly wash the hands, because that's the most, the way how the virus is spread. Let's put it like that. So that's very important, and I think we have to bear in mind that we have to live with this virus until the time when we find something against it regarding vaccination or medicine, and that's also something which we can, where we can strengthen our forces also in the European Union, and that's what happened, to have money for people who are developing this medicine. But until this moment, I think we really should keep sensitive. We should still work together. We should keep up the spirit of also a regional exchange, and that's what we are doing. And I'm looking at Milena and Martin. So we got to know each other very well. Milena, I got you to know, we had a chance to meet in a physical way. Martin, we just met on the phone and via video conference. But we do hope, if we can keep the spirit, that it will be possible to see each other also in a physical way, because you can't substitute physical meetings. So I'm very thankful for this good cooperation. And also I want to express my gratitude to all the people who are really that committed following these measures and restrictions, because that was the way of the success.
Thank you very much, Minister, for highlighting the positive externality of the crisis and the intense cooperation between Slovakia, Austria, and the Czech Republic that's resulted out of it. And we do hope that it will continue. And I will then go next to Minister Hrdinková for your take, please, also on the cooperation between the countries, but also on the successes that we can replicate or improve in the future.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. We can see and hear each other, I hope. I think that I fully agree with all what Karoline just said. I do not have much to add. It's clear that cooperation worked quite well, and we actually value it very high, because sometimes it was not only very ordinary cooperation in rather consensual areas and issues, but sometimes we really had to go through questions where we do not fully agree with each other. And even though we had to find solutions that somehow both or all three sides could accept. And I was actually, and I have been so far very, very pleased that we are doing quite well in this, that searching solutions even on controversial issues works well. And it's true that it's not very easy, particularly this discipline, to do it via video and conference call. This is something what normally you would much prefer to go and see your partner and explain, get in touch, and make be fully aware of all the emotions and situation as it is. But so far it works, and I think that we will learn of that. And in addition to meeting together in Brussels at various occasions, I think we will strongly consider adding various short video calls on particular topics. This is what I personally learned. For the success, why and special position of the Central Europe, I think that, to be fair, we have to look at the combination of three factors, let's say. There are certain conditions and circumstances that were not same for all states where coronavirus attacked. We were a little bit fortunate in being able to see already in Europe what's happening, because I think that China, for example, is very remote, and when the wave happened in China, not everyone actually realized what kind of risk we are facing. But once we started to watch what was going on in Italy, for example, I think then politicians and also citizens started to fully understand, you know, what possible impact we may be facing. Then national characteristics. Not all nations are same. Social distancing, I would say, in Czech Republic, Austria, Slovakia, Nordic countries is much easier than in Italy or Spain, although still it is difficult. But I think that for southern nations it's even worse. You know, gathering are much larger there, and in combination of being able to see what was happening there, I think it was much easier to convince our citizens that they really need to be aware and think about what they are doing. And for example, in Scandinavia, politicians were quite able to achieve quite impressive results, even with not obligatory measures, with recommendations and convincing their people. And then, of course, last, definitely not least, that was a set of efficient measures that we combined with good timing. And in our case, it was namely very fast and very strict lockdown of everything. For the first moment, keeping everyone almost literally at home for first 2 or 3 weeks. What I think functioned very, very well was obligatory wearing of masks in the Czech Republic, and we see actually it was relaxed this week, and we still see that many people are not so keen to take off the mask whenever they want. And also, as Karoline said, making sure that everyone understands basic hygienical standards, that, you know, if you touch food in grocery, it's not normal to touch it with a bare hand, that it's actually quite useful to wash and disinfect your hands a couple of times a day. And all this in combination worked very well. And for the second wave, we are very much focusing on tracing. We already started now, and we believe that the response for some potential risks in the future is tracing and smart solutions in detecting where the virus may attack next. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for also highlighting the nexus between the societal approach and the efficiency of the measures and the good communication between everybody involved to align along these goals. I will go now to Minister Klus. Usually the governments get at least 100 days of easy approach to things, after which they're judged. I know that in your case, you did not even probably had 100 hours, and you were thrown into the midst of the crisis from the first days. By all standards, the Slovak government did an impressive job in both establishing itself as a government, but also dealing with the crisis. Could you please lead us a little bit through how you managed to do that?
Good morning, Alena. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, and thanks to GLOBSEC for organizing this event. I really appreciate that we have possibility to meet also through this way and to discuss also with you these interesting topics. And I need to say that I'm very grateful to be in such a charming company. It's not very usual that men are in such a huge minority at the European level, at least. And definitely not in Slovak level. So this is even perfect news for me, as I'm the one who is proposing a little more active approach of women's in Slovak politics. But I fully understand what Karoline and Milena said about the positiveness of this Corona crisis, and if you don't mind, I will add a couple more because it's very important for me personally, for my political points of view. And this is about, for instance, our approach to the European Union. As you know, we are having crazy Nazis in our parliament, and they believe that Slovakia should be kind of a fortress. We have to withdraw European Union, withdraw NATO and other organizations we are part of. So now they can easily see, and also their supporters, what the fortress Slovakia really mean, because Slovakia had been a fortress for quite a long period, and only today midnight, first Czechs and Hungarians can freely enter Slovakia. So this is what the fortress is, and I'm sure that even the supporters of these people now start to understand how important it is to live freely in Europe. Another interesting example is when we are speaking, especially to the elder people, and they believe how great life they lived during the communist era. So now they can easily remember how it looks like when they're queuing in the shops and when they're queuing at the borders. So this is another important factor which Corona brings to the Slovak way of thinking. And I believe now this gives us a lot of possibilities and examples to introduce how important is free Europe for us, and how important is European Union. And as you said, this government doesn't have a very easy start. It was a really sharp beginning for all of us, and we always think, even to our journalists, that what doesn't kill us make us stronger. So hopefully this will help us to survive for other 3 years and 10 months. And I really hope that lead by example. I mean, also our leaders which dealt with this Corona crisis very well, will show the way how to manage kind of modernization in Slovakia. When you ask about why people were so eager to help each other, I guess it's also quite a simple scare. I will be very honest in this case, but image of Slovak health service is not very well, and it's not very positive. So that's why it was much easier for our people to follow the rules, and they understand how important it is to have a masks, how important it is to clean the hands, which we already mentioned, and keep the social distancing. Because when we saw what happened in more developed country like Italy, especially northern Italy, everybody was really scared. So this helped us a lot to introduce measures, and so far the figures are very positive, not only in Slovakia but also in our neighborhood countries. So now it's time for a good news. Now it's time for opening, and if everything goes well, we will have Schengen area again open very soon, and maybe even part of the summer season will be catchable. So these are the good news for all of us, and I hope we'll continue in this. Of course, there is a risk of the second wave, and our epidemiologists are very aware of that, and trying to grounding us as much as it gets. But on the other hand, we need to bring positive messages to our citizens. They deserve it, and I hope if the second wave will come, we are much better prepared than the first wave, and hopefully we can manage. It's tough not to have a second wave if you have only 0, 1, or 2 positives like in Slovakia last days. So we are expecting second wave, but hopefully it will be keepable.
Thank you so much for yet another very positive approach to the crisis and surviving your baptism by fire and coming out of it stronger. I would like to follow up on what you just started talking about opening of the borders and the Schengen. And this is, of course, the question to all of you, because there's been a discussion that we're going to have first mini Schengen between Austria, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. And there is discussion how to include others. And of course, the EU Commission is slightly sensitive about the fact that mini Schengens might become a new normal, and it will be increasingly difficult to revert to the fully functioning Schengen in the European Union. What's your take on that? Do you think we're going to be living in mini Schengens? And if so, for how long? And whether you're worried about the full Schengen? Minister Edtstadler, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, it has to be said that tourism is one of the most affected sectors in Austria, but also in other countries of the European Union. And therefore, it is in all of our interest to make it possible for the summer to have a tourism also in summer 2020. And if I'm talking about the situation in Austria, we have small enterprises, we have family business, and it's really needed to give them a perspective how things going on during that summer. So Austria is following also the recommendation from the European Commission, and that's what we are also living in video conferences, as I mentioned in my first statement, with the neighboring countries. And we are following the step-by-step approach, because it's very, very important to have a balance, to have comparable numbers of infections, of the health system, of the testing capacities and the methods. And it's very important to have also safety for the guests throughout their journey, but also, of course, throughout their stay in the country. So we are working on that on a daily basis. We are evaluating the situation on the daily numbers. Also, we were in close contact. I remember also at the regional level, we established during the crisis the contact at the regional level to improve the trust between the different member states, to improve the trust regarding the measures which were set in the different member states. And I think so far it is going quite well. So we have also a decision now also to reopen the borders with Germany, with Liechtenstein and Switzerland, but also with the Czech Republic and Slovakia. So it will start smoothly at the mid of June. And what is really important and what we should keep up is the spirit of talking and coordinating and evaluating the situation. Because everything was so positive now, I just want to add something which is also critical. There was a lot of criticism also from the European Union regarding the closing of borders. But as Milena also mentioned, we learned from other countries. Austria was the second country which was hardly affected by this virus. And of course, we had the example of Italy. We saw what we should avoid in any effect, and we did that. So we had these measures set very early and very restrictive measures. And I think that was good for us. That was very bad for other countries. But that's also the explanation why we can't reopen all the borders at the same time. And that's what I wanted to mention. We have to compare the numbers. We have to see which country is affected in which dimension. And that was mentioned also by Martin. So you have only 2 or 3 cases per day plus. We do have also a very low number of cases which are coming day by day. But still we have to keep it, and that's the explanation. So yes, we have to work together. Yes, we have to coordinate us also in the European Union. But it's also very important to have this coordination among the neighboring countries, that we can reach the goal to have something like tourism also in the summer 2020.
Thank you very much. Minister Hrdinková, do you agree with this assessment, and are you positive about the full Schengen?
Yes and no, and I think that we shouldn't limit ourselves to Schengen actually, because there are 2 issues. Okay, now we are looking how to restore the Schengen regime within Schengen area, but at certain point we will have to think also about how to restore a proper relationship. I mean, on traveling basis with the rest of the world. And I mean, as Karoline said, we fully respect, appreciate, and we are fully in line with the recommendations from the Commission. But to be a bit more open, I could stress that when it comes to borders inside Schengen area, in as extraordinary situation as this is, it's full competence of member state to deal with this issue, and no breach, unlike, for example, the area of internal market actually occurred, because everything what we member states did was completely compliant with the rules that we have. When we speak about external borders of Schengen area, that's a little bit more tricky, and there we are convinced that coordination is absolutely necessary, and we will have to work a little bit more together. But internal border, I think the coordination amongst the neighboring countries is actually the key appropriate tool. And this is what you need to use, because you want to make everything smooth within particular areas. It's good that the Commission somehow monitored the situation, and based on what's happening is giving some recommendations so that even the various regions within EU approximate. That's very useful, and that's what's happening. But in principle, what's happening based on neighborhood or policy of neighboring countries is correct thing. We, as well as Austria, apply step-by-step approach. We made a large step on Monday, actually, because we moved from the regime of closed borders to open borders with certain conditions. But as of Monday, any checks at the borders are at random basis. And in addition to that, because this is a little bit difficult to combine with countries that still are in closed borders regime, like, for example, Slovakia, but even there we were able to come up with an alternative where we agreed on a regime that Slovaks and Czechs are free to travel to each of the 2 countries, actually also with Hungary, for if they do not stay in the other country for longer than 48 hours. So even that is doable. And as Karoline, we strongly believe that we, at least in our region, will go to almost full regime as of mid-June. And we strongly hope that we will be able to control the risks through tracing and smart tools, so that we will not have to even consider shutting down again.
Thank you very much. Minister Klus, I'll come to you, and also if you could elaborate a bit more for us, how is the coordination of the tracing tools working across borders, whether it's working, and whether this is a tool you can already consider functioning in opening up the borders and preventing the spread of the cases?
Thank you. Don't you have a simpler question? It's quite complicated as long as this border issue is changing every single hour. And sometimes we are all surprised, even at the Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs, how quick it is. And luckily, as I said, last days, it is very positive approach from both Prime Minister Office and also Ministry of Interior, to which this cross-bordering issue is belongs to. So my hope is that we will soon introduce a full Schengen area, and it will be hopefully mid-June, as it has been declared also by the European Commission. Up to that date, we need to coordinate our steps with the less epidemiologically critical countries, especially our neighboring countries, Hungary, Czech Republic, Austria, hopefully also Poland, and also Switzerland, Germany, Slovenia, and Croatia are important for us. Now we are trying to discuss with these countries what should be the possibility for our citizens to enter these countries freely, without any testing, without any quarantine, and also how we can offer a possibility for their citizens to enter Slovakia, because we believe these countries are safe enough for us, and we can using kind of control border crossing, but without any doubts for public health. And I hope the list of the countries will be broader and broader, and before 15th of June, for instance, it could be even more than 8 countries, and then it will be much simpler to persuade also our epidemiologists to let borders open. As long as Milena said, we are not that much open as Austria and Czech Republic so far, but we are approaching this moment, and I hope it will come soon. For instance, Iceland mentioned that they want to have open borders with us as soon as as long as the epidemiological situation there is more or less the same as in Slovakia. So I believe this is perfect approach, and also Mauritius is also introducing possibilities for countries like Slovakia to have a very free movement of people. So at least these 2 countries looks perfect for a great vacation in June time. So why not to try it?
Thank you so much. I wonder whether you discussed the Slovak holidays in Iceland and Mauritius with our colleagues from Croatia or Italy. That would be also an interesting discussion. I would like also to remind the people who are logged in on Zoom that you can pose the questions in Q&A, but I'll switch to ones that I already see coming up from Twitter. And of course, there's a lot of interest about the recovery from the coronavirus crisis. We know that today the Commission is expected to propose their plan for the next financial framework. And we know that there's been enhanced debate about the Franco-German proposal on the recovery, including the discussion whether it's going to be loans or grants and what is the share between them. And we mentioned at the beginning that there are a lot of questions that are now well coordinated between the 3 countries in this, what we call Slavkov triangle. But my question is whether approach to the economic recovery and financial issues is one of them. And if not, could you, as open as you can be, explain to us where the main differences are? And maybe I will start with the reverse order, and I will go first to Minister Klus.
Thank you, appreciate it. And we are all waiting for the details coming today from the European Commission. So then we can start very detailed discussion also within this S3 triangle. And I know that Austrian approach is a little different than the one we are having in Czech Republic and Slovakia. And I know that Czech approach is also a bit different than the one we are having in Austria and Slovakia, as long as they are not members of the Eurozone. But on the other hand, we all believe that kind of solidarity is inevitable in European Union. We are all facing the same troubles if it comes to the economic hit by the crisis. So of course we are expecting that the European Union will be active in this way, but maybe the expectations are different among these countries. And I can easily tell you that our approach is a bit different than the one from the South countries, because we believe that we need to take into account only economic criteria of economic crisis we are facing, not the medical one. So for instance, this is the difference we are having. And I know that it's different approach from Frugal Four, where Austria belongs to, which believe that we need to issue only loans, not the grants. But for us also grants are somehow acceptable, and acceptable, and that's why we are all waiting for the amount first of all, and also for distribution key, which is the key element for us. And as long as this country is not very successful if it comes to the different kind of programs, we believe that also strong flexibility will be kept by the European Commission, at least for next couple of months, maybe years, to use European money for recovery. So these are the most important elements of approach. And as I said, looking forward for the details introduced by the Commission today, and then the discussion will be pushed much further.
Thank you very much. In the Czech Republic, on which spectrum of frugality are you? And maybe you could also help us understand what are the priorities in terms of the distribution key of the Czech Republic.
Very good. I mean, as Martin said, it's happening right now. We are quite eagerly awaiting what the Commission is going to propose, because nobody actually saw the full picture so far. We only see some elements, and I have to say that I have to be very open. I'm not able to give you a full Czech position, because we still don't know. We are in quite heated debates, even amongst ourselves, with the Prime Minister, with Minister of Finance. There are some elements that we still need to analyze. But I will try to highlight some moments that I see in connection with this budget that are somehow new, and that we will have to concentrate on. First of all, I would say that everyone should be aware, and nobody shouldn't pretend anything else, that the only money that there are in the European budget are member states' money. There are only member states' money, regardless of whether they send their member states fees based on a given allocation, or whether they are loans that will have to be repaid in future, and they will only be repaid by member states. There is nobody else who would put money in the European budget. So if you hear statements like Commission is going to bring new income in the European budget, there are no other money than member states' money. So we have to think about that like that. So we are very careful when we speak about taking loans, actually, already the first step. We understand that the situation is extraordinary, and EU economy needs to recover quickly, reconstruct growth and everything. But to be frank, the amounts that we hear, how much we would like to borrow, somehow worry us, because it's a lot of money. Then when it comes to how we distribute the money, we need to watch European priorities, policies, and something what the EU wants to build together and can build together. And of course, for example, medical systems in member states are very, very important that they function. But in the first place, we have to look at functioning the internal market. And the key element for that, for us, is convergence, and convergence going on at the same pace. And the key to ongoing convergence for us is investment. So this will be what we will put a great stress on. Whether if we decide to borrow money, to let Commission borrow money, then the big question is, are we going to distribute them through loans or through grants, and then what portion? I mean, there, I think that positions of member states, of two camps of member states, is a little bit too strict, and that some may stick too much to each instrument, because the key moment is that we borrow money and we will have to repay them, and who is responsible for that? Then when we distribute money, it is true that technically speaking, grants for multi-annual financial framework type of budget make more sense, because the multi-annual financial framework budget is based on grants and transfers. Loans is not typical instrument, and debt instrument as such actually is as ordinary tool excluded by Treaty on Functioning of the EU. So this is something what I think leaders will need to have some discussion as well. I will finish with saying that I think that we should be very modest also in terms of procedures and new tools that we want to agree on. We should stick to what we know, multi-annual financial framework structure as it is. And if we start adding too many experiments and too many new elements, it will be very, very difficult to agree on that quickly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for this comprehensive outline. And with an easy position, let's turn to Austria. And of course, we're interested in whether Austria still stands on the original rather frugal position, and especially if you can share with us whether there are areas, and which are these areas on which you can count on support from your Czech and Slovak counterparts in negotiations of the budget.
Okay, thank you for what was said already. I would like to outline at the beginning that the three of us, we were meeting each other yesterday at the General Affairs Council. It lasted more than 4 hours, and we were talking about these topics, about the MFF, about the recovery plan. And at the beginning, three things. First of all, we are all clear, and there was a broad consensus that we can overcome this crisis only together. Secondly, it is clear that we have to help those who were hit mostly by this coronavirus. And thirdly, of course, it needs European solidarity. But when it comes to the recovery plan, we are all waiting for it, and it should be delivered today in the afternoon, when I'm informed correctly. Then we have to say a few things. First of all, I'm really in line with Milena when she says it's taxpayers' money. It's the money from the member states, and we have to really deal diligently with taxpayers' money. So Milena, I would also invite you to come and join the Frugal 4 group. Maybe we could be even stronger if we are Frugal 5 or even more. And that's what I wanted to explain, because now what we do have, we face the situation that the coronavirus interrupts us in the middle of the negotiations to the MFF. We have now the situation that we have, of course, and the European Commission also was clear about that. She has to modernize this MFF and to put new priorities regarding digitalization, regarding the health system, regarding resilience in Europe. The second thing is that in the middle of this crisis, the head of state and state of government decided already on a 540 billion package. That's a 440 billion euro package, that's a lot of money for the EIB, for the ESM, and the SURE, for the workers, for member states, and for enterprises. So we mustn't forget that when we are talking about the recovery plan. And the recovery plan now comes on top of this. And what we want to see is a diligently use of taxpayers' money, is a one-off emergency fund, which is temporarily and which is used by the member states who are benefiting from this money. We have still a discussion, loans and grants. I can say a few words afterwards, but we have to have the guarantee that the member states who are benefiting from these countries are using this money for more resilience, to overcome the crisis and not for anything else. And that's what we also made very clear, and we can't agree on instruments or measures leading to a debt mutualization. And that's what we made very clear, crystal clear in the Frugal Four group also. So we are tensiously waiting for the proposal of the European Commission. We want to see a fair balance, and we have to discuss as soon as this proposal is lying at the table. And I would like to add something more. Beside the question of money, it is really important where the European Union is developing. We now saw in this crisis that we have to have more autonomy in Europe, that we have to become more resilient, that we should be prepared better for situations like this or similar ones. And that's where we should put our focus now. And that's why I was already very pushy in the past, also before this crisis came into play, with the conference on the future of Europe. I think we have the need to discuss in depth, without any limitation, what are people expecting from the European Union? Where can we work together? Where are we stronger if we are working together? And which things, and I use the word subsidiarity, are better placed in the member states, in the regions, in the coordination and cooperation among the member states, as we also did it now with Czech Republic, with Slovakia, during the crisis. And that's what I'm really very keen on. I want to see a position of the Council on the Conference on the Future of Europe. It should have started, to explain that also, already in May, but it was postponed because of the virus. It wasn't possible to meet. I don't have to say any more of that, but it should really start at the moment when we can meet again. And one last sentence from my side. I am about to start this process already in Austria, because I want to get in touch with people. We know there is a lot of criticism also regarding the European Union. Some of that I'm really sharing. Some of that I think we need to explain what the European Union can and what she does not can, or it does not can. And that's why I am starting this process in Austria now. And I hope, I really do hope, and we had this also on the agenda yesterday, that we can find a common position on the conference as a whole, also in the Council, to start the process as soon as possible, maybe, and I hope so, in September.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I would like to follow up also with a question that we got from the participants, which goes along with reflects on the comments that were made earlier, that definitely there should be emphasis on the economic effects of the crisis. But also it's connected to what you've been saying about the need to communicate with people and know what people want, so that we also avoid political fallout. So the question is whether we do need to think a bit more also about the medical implications and health implications and the number of deaths of the country, at least in communicating our discussions further, because we already saw what happened in Italy and Spain. And if we only emphasize the economic recovery and economic impact without discussing the human effects, that might lead to further lack of trust in the European Union, especially from the southern countries. So a quick round of takes of all three of you on this matter. Ms. Hrdinková, would you like to go first?
I think it really goes hand in hand. I mean, if we do have economic prosperity, and we have seen this over the last 60 years, everything should function quite well. I mean, I think that being very cautious in terms of public finances, and it will improve implicitly, because public finances would be used appropriately and would make even these sectors that are so needed by citizens, and it would make it functional. So I would say it really cannot be one without another.
Thank you very much. Minister Klus, you mentioned that Slovakia would rather support the economic criteria when deciding about the next budget. How would you connect it to the human element of it?
Of course, every lost life is a tragedy, and we are aware of that. And as Milena said, please don't interconnect it with the solidarity, but it's politically very tough to explain to our people that we were so ready to start with a very strict measures in our country, including mask wearing, including almost a full lockdown of the country, very strict border regime, and on the other hand, to follow how people in some countries had election, for instance, or having easy time drinking coffees and stuff like this. It's very tough to persuade our people, our taxpayers, to be solidar through this picture of Europe, for instance, in the late March time or beginning of April time. So that's why I'm saying that this is a bit of a red line for us to use medical criteria if it comes to the common approach how to deal with the corona crisis. Let's speak about unemployment rate. Let's speak about which part of the industry has been affected the most, because we are listening about the tourist industry quite a lot. Of course, it's important for all of us. On the other hand, car industry is even more affected, I believe, somehow, and it will take a longer time to recovery than the one for the tourist industry if we will have a vaccination, for instance. So that's why let's speak about the details. The devil is always hidden in the details. So we are all waiting for details from the Commission, and then we can easily speak about it.
Thank you very much. And Minister Edtstadler, I also wonder, because Minister Klus explained that the public mood in Slovakia still not necessarily fully supportive or has other concerns when it comes to the discussion about solidarity. What is the public mood in Austria? We saw, for example, a lot of public opinion polls from Germany, where the Germans are eager, or at least according to the public polls, that they understand the need of solidarity and increased spending also in the southern countries. What is the public opinion in Austria, and whether Austrians are ready to maybe spend more, or they're rather on the frugal side?
So, well, I guess the government, which has quite a good majority also among the people in Austria, is here on the side of the government, I would say. So, of course, it's not by occasion that we have this frugal four group, and Austria is part of it. But when it comes to solidarity, Austrians are very much on the side of solidarity. And the question was also regarding the medical implication of this crisis. And I would like to reply on that. It was already mentioned further during this discussion, I think by Milena, that neither security nor health is a common responsibility of the European Union, but it lies in the solely responsibility of the member states. And to put it very clearly, I'm very grateful to be here in Austria, to be embedded in a very strong and well-functioning medical and health system here in Austria. And that was also during this crisis, it turned out that we do have a lot of ICU beds, and that was important, even though, thank God, we didn't have the need to use all of them. And their solidarity came into play, because we showed the solidarity. We took over ICU patients from France and from Italy, for example. We also offered ICU beds to other member states. I remember also to the present countries in this discussion, if there is a need, because we do have this very strong health system. For the future, I think it will be really crucial to develop more autonomy also regarding the medical sector, we saw that we are very dependent on big states like China or the US or also India regarding things that we need to produce medicine. And when it comes to the question, what can we do together? Where are we strong if we're acting together? I have to mention also research and innovation. And that's what the Commission also started to do also during this crisis, to collect the money and to bring it together that we can deliver quicker, not we, but the experts in these fields, vaccination and medicine against this coronavirus. And in that sense, we need, of course, solidarity. I think people are also aware of that. They are ready to show solidarity. But of course, it is not always the money as such, but it is the fact that we are really intertwined and that people also are so used to the European Union, they like it to have these open borders. And I think there is a big understanding also among the civilians. And for the rest, I think it would be good to start this process and to discuss things openly also with people.
Thank you very much. We only have a couple minutes left, so I will try to sneak in a couple of questions in the lightning round. So please feel free to respond even with one word or a couple of words, one sentence to the questions. And what our Twitter audience is also very curious about is, that's probably the question more to our Czech and Slovak ministers, is whether the Slavkov triangle is now more important than Visegrad 4, and whether Visegrad 4 countries would act as a bloc in the MFF discussion and have a unified position. Minister Klus, would you like to be first? Very briefly.
Very briefly, in our governmental program, we are saying that we are seeking for a broader coalitions, topic by topic. So this is, of course, open question, and we believe that it will be not V4 position, but it will be much broader position if it comes to some MFF issues.
Thank you very much. And Minister Hrdinková, would you have a V4 act as a bloc at MFF?
At MFF, at final stage, there are no blocks. There are only 27 member states who each fight for their own interests. Right now, yes, there are some blocks, and we may be part of regional V4, but it's rather a fight for traditional policies, namely cohesion. But you know, at the final stage of negotiation on money, I do not believe in blocks, actually. I haven't seen that yet.
Thank you very much. And Minister Edtstadler, there's been a lot of discussion whether Austria would like to join V4. Is that still on the table? And whether you have a negotiation also, not just with Czechoslovaks, but similar regular contacts with all V4 states?
We understand us as bridge builders. So that was also during my first weeks as a Minister of Europe. I visited all the 4 Visegrad states. I think we have a really good exchange and I highly appreciate that. But I think the V4 are the V4 and they should stay like this. But we are open to invite the Czech Republic to the Frugal 4. So let's see how it develops.
Thank you very much. I see Slovakia did not get an invitation to the Frugal 4, but we'll see where it's going. And the final, again, very brief question. Of course, now the discussion is more focused on the internal economic recovery. Also, the questions of autonomy were mentioned before, but also cooperation with the outside world, outside of the Schengen. But before the crisis started, the Commission had an ambition to play a more important role in the world. Do you think it is still feasible, especially given that our financial resources and our attention, it is going to be drawn and consumed by domestic issues? So do you think EU will play and has the capacity to enhance its role in the world, or we're still lagging far behind this goal? Minister Hrdinková?
I mean, European Union is the second largest economy. It must play a global role. Maybe we are somehow falling behind a little bit, but it's one of the key issues. And I don't think there is another possibility than improving that. Yes, we have to play a global role and remain compatible. And yes, domestic issues must also work smoothly, but we simply have to find a way how to combine all this, what to do together and what to take care about at home.
Thank you very much. Minister Edtstadler.
I think, especially after this crisis, it's more important than ever to play an important role in the world, and that's what I mean. We have to discuss that where, in the Conference on the Future of Europe, where we can strengthen our power to be bigger, to be stronger at the world economic place also, and that's what the crisis showed. So let's do it. Let's strengthen our force in these regards, where we can act really stronger in acting together.
Thank you very much. And Minister Klus?
We are having quite many challenges in front of us. For instance, Brexit issue, American presidential election, 5G and stuff like this. And in all of them, we can easily see that it's inevitable to keep unity of 27 countries. And for Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Austria, as the smaller countries of the European Union, it's even more important. So I hope this kind of coordination will continue, and we will keep in touch very regularly.
Thank you very much, all of you, for the very lively discussion, for finding time to be with us, but also for highlighting the positive externalities of the crisis and finding some common way forward. We hope to see you soon again with us, either in this format, but of course in person when we can see each other again. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you to all participants who were with us today. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Bye.
See you.